Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What if Naruto rebirthed in a world of angels and devils and had harem with Rias? Movie. The elemental nations were at peace. Madara had been defeated, Kagaya had been sealed away and the 10-tailed beast had been re-separated into the 9 individual beasts that everyone knew. Shukaku went back to Gaara, the same goes for Gyuki and Killer Bee. Naruto had ended up claiming the full power of his lifelong partner, Kurama. Sasuke had been pardoned for his numerous crimes and was now on his journey of self-redemption, and the hero, Naruto Uzumaki, was next in line to be Hokage. Everything seemed picture perfect, right? Sadly, life has a way of destroying the sails just when things were sailing smoothly. On Training Ground 7, we find the savior of the world going through a training regimen and wasn't paying attention to his surroundings while his partner was snoring away inside the seal, neither noticing that their lives were in danger. Sasuke Uchiha had been biding his time, only pretending that he was reformed, and went along with this peace that was making everyone weak and complacent. His journey of redemption was just a veil to hide his true actions, to train without being hounded and disturbed by Anbu. He had a plan to get the world back in shape, and it involved killing their savior. With him gone and their anger and hatred reignited, he could have them focus all of that on him, making him the villain they needed to overcome. Seeing that Naruto was so focused on his training, he decided now was the best chance he'd have. He knew that the moment he flared his chakra, the Anbu as well as any shinobi nearby would be on the location in mere minutes. With a quick flare, his Chidori was charged up, and with his Rinnegan, he quickly closed the distance between before driving his jutsu through the blonde's heart, leaving a shocked expression on his face. Cough, cough. Droplets of his crimson life essence dripped from his mouth. Sasuke, why? His eyes rolled back and he fell to the ground, unconscious. The traitor smirked, knowing that not even Tsunade nor Sakura could save him, and as he predicted, a squad of Anbu were already there with their weapons drawn. Sasuke Uchiha, you are under arrest for attacking the hero of the leaf. Come quietly, the lead Anbu ordered while the others surrounded the last Uchiha. I think not, the Ravenet said with a censority smirk before using the body flicker to escape the village. They would have followed, but their top priority was getting the blonde to the hospital. Send word to Lady Tsunade and Sakura Haruno. Get them to hospital on the double. Yes sir, the eagle-masked Anbu replied before flickering away to carry out his orders. The others carefully picked up their hero and made their way to the hospital as quickly and carefully as they could. The doors to the hospital busted open as Tsunade and Sakura came in. Where is Naruto? What happened? It was the Uchiha. We found him standing over Naruto and the hole through his chest suggests that the Chidori was used. Dragon quickly responded, doing his best to suppress his nervousness. Sasuke. No, that can't be. He changed. We were just talking about getting married. Sakura said in denial. There was no way that Sasuke was still a traitor. He wouldn't have betrayed her and Naruto again. Where is Naruto? The former Hokage stressed in a firm tone, not in the mood for a run around. He's in ICU, where he started but was pushed aside by the frantic medics. When they arrived in ICU, their eyes instantly went to the charred hole where his heart should be. Sakura started to tremble. No, this can't be happening. Her legs gave way and she fell to her knees, covering her mouth as tears rolled down her cheeks. Even Tsunade had tears in her eyes, but she bit back her feelings and went into medic mode, doing everything she could do to try and save him. This is like Hazuka Castle all over again, only Ryazetsu isn't here to save his life, Tsunade thought as she used her mystical palm jutsu. After 30 minutes of trying, Tsunade realized that it was futile. She ended her technique and stood there looking at the corpse of the young man that she came to see as a son. Her body started to shake as memories of her time with this young man flew through her mind. Slowly, she put her hand on his face and ran her fingers over his whiskers. He was so cold, tears freely flowed from the former Godime's eyes. I'm sorry, son, I'm so sorry that I couldn't save you. Reluctantly, she called the time of Naruto Uzumaki's death. She walked over to the weeping Pinkett and helped her to her feet. See, come Sakura, we have to let his friends and allies know what happened. We'll hold his funeral in a week. The cherry blossom shakily nodded her head and they left the room. In the void between life and death. Where am I? Naruto asked out loud, not realizing that he still had the gaping hole in his chest. You are between life and death, child of prophecy. A glowing womanly figure said in a silky voice, getting him to turn around. Kami, Naruto, be respectful. Kurama said from within the seal. Though I am not sure how I survived since we were killed by that damned Uchiha you called a best friend. That would be because you and young Naruto are still needed. Both of your efforts brought peace to your world, but there is another that is in need of your assistance. Should you accept, I can guarantee that you'll be reunited with 3 people that I'm sure that you'd love to see again. Kami said in her regal voice. Now Naruto was intrigued. Who would those be? Your mother, Kushina Uzumaki, your big sister figure, Enko Mitarashi, and finally, the young lady from whom you learned your most treasured belief at the start of your journey. Kami answered. Naruto narrowed his gaze at the divine being. How can I be reunited with them, when they're dead? Sasuke sacrificed Enko to resurrect Orochimaru and Mom died on the night of my birth. He asked in a heated tone, not caring that she was of a higher power. He's fought and beaten people claiming to be gods before. She didn't take offense to his hostilities, for it was to be expected. She'd have been worried had he not asked any questions. The flow of time in your world is vastly different than the one you're going to. A year in the elemental nations is the same as a single day in the world you will be heading to. Therefore, it has only been 19 days for your mother and 4 days for Enko. However, to answer your question, only those deemed worthy are capable of going to this world. Naruto lost his hostility upon hearing that and asked, so, they'll be in this world that you're sending me to? The divine being responded with a nod. Kurama spoke up. How do you determine those who are worthy? For all we know, that damnable Uchiha could end up there if he meets your criteria. Fear not, only those who possess a pure heart but were given a shoddy hand in life are eligible to go here. For instance, young Naruto here, Enko as well as his mother. The deity said, reassuring the souls in front of her. So people like Sasuke, who have given into their darkness out of hate or vengeance, are not eligible for this resurrection. Is that right? The blonde asked and got a nod in return. All right, so, what is this world that you want to send me to? It is a world of multiple religions and everything you'd expect from them, but I'll be sending you to a place that is the home to devils, angels, fallen angels, and yokai. There are also special artifacts known as sacred gear. And who knows, if you are lucky enough, you may just obtain one of these powerful artifacts for yourself. Kami explained. And knowing his luck, I'm gonna end up sharing his mindscape with something else, juiced marvelous. The multi-tailed beast drawled in a sarcastic tone. Now Kurama, don't be such a grouch. Who knows, these sacred gears may be necessary for us to help this world. Naruto said to his partner, who rolled his eyes back at him. The blonde then looked to the goddess. Very well, I'll accept going to this world. But before that, can I see what's going on in the elemental nations? I'd like to see how they're handling my death. Thank you, young man, she said with a gentle smile before nodding. And very well, I suppose that will supply some closure for you. Elemental nations. 1 week after Naruto's death. It seemed that the entire world had shown up for the funeral of their hero. Everyone who had their heart touched by Naruto was standing in of the moment built for him, a statue made in his image. As a way to honor his lifelong dream, his face was constructed on the Hokage monument as the honorary 7th Hokage. However, it wasn't a peaceful funeral service, for even though they were there to pay their respects to their fallen hero, everyone was more than a little angry with Konoha. Firstly, I would like to thank all of whom are in attendance. It is a sad day for all of us, for we are here to honor the life of one of the greatest shinobi and all-around human, that we have had the privilege of knowing, and to pay him our final respects. The vast number of you who are here just goes to show how many hearts he has touched in his lifetime. Kakashi, the 6th Hokage, started in a solemn tone. He had a gift, an uncanny one that no one would believe that a shinobi should possess, but he was known as the most unpredictable shinobi, so I guess it checks out. The man joked lightheartedly, drawing chuckles from the crowd. He could change the hearts and minds of almost anyone, make them see the error of their ways, and eventually, they'd turn over a new leaf. And this goes for both friend and foe. I'm sure that there are many of you in this crowd today, who can attest to that. People such as Gaara, Koyuki, Inari, Shizuka, Shion, and Tsunade, as well as a whole host of others, all nodded. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to change everyone. Sasuke Uchiha. Just saying his name drew sneers and growls of hate from the crowd. The man who he spent most of his career trying to save, turned around and betrayed him. More than a few of us had tried to dissuade from saving Sasuke, for we saw that he was a lost cause, but Naruto, the man chuckled, he wouldn't take no for an answer. He still believed that the traitor could be saved, and in the end, he convinced us to pardon him of his crimes. And what do you plan to do about this? Shion, the priestess of the land of demons, said rather sternly. The priestess is correct, surely you don't plan to sweep this travesty under the rug. Koyuki, feudal lord of the land of spring, formerly land of snow, agreed. Tsunade stepped up and spoke for Kakashi. Rest assured, Sasuke Uchiha has been added to the bingo book as an S-rank criminal as well as rogue ninja with a kill on-site order. We have our hunter shinobi tracking him down as we speak. We have also been interrogating a known associate of his, Karen Uzumaki. She has been more than forthcoming with the information, for she has already revealed to us the numerous hideouts and safe houses they used when they were a team. I'm afraid that isn't good enough, Lady Tsunade. Gaara, the Kazekage and dear friend of Naruto's, spoke gravely. I believe I speak for all of us when I say that we demand the Uchiha's head on a pike before October 10th, or Konoha may very well end up becoming the second Uzushio. Shouts of approval soon erupted from the crowd, even from some of Konoha's residents. Tsunade herself was more than willing to agree about the course of action for Sasuke, the threat against her home, not so much. Despite his conflicting opinions, Kakashi had his job to do as the sixth Hokage. Since it is clear that most of you do not favor Konoha at this time, may we ask for assistance on this matter, not as Konoha's allies but Naruto's allies. Are you willing to do that? Very well, Lord Hokage. We will have our eyes everywhere looking for the Uchiha, but do not count on him being returned alive. That accursed bloodline will end before the Uzumaki's birthday. The Raikage said sternly, getting nods from his fellow leaders. Sakura had a mortified expression on her face at the thought of Sasuke being hunted so ruthlessly while being marked for death. I know he killed Naruto and his death would prevent Konoha from being annihilated, but this is too much. How did Kakashi-sensei deal with the loss of his team like this? The Pinkett thought in despair. Personally, I want Sasuke's head as a trophy. He took Naruto from me. I never even got an answer to my confession all those years ago. Hinata said hysterically. You're not the only one, Hyuga. Naruto made me a promise after he saved me from Morio to continue the priestess line. Shion said, getting a glare from the Hyuga heiress, but Sakura chuckled upon recalling the memory. Yeah, but he was a naive idiot. He probably didn't realize what he was promising. She said before sighing. He was so focused on trying to bring back Sasuke to keep his promise to me. Yes, and he was genuinely in love with you, Sakura. I remember he turned down the duty he inherited from his master, Jiraiya. He defeated me in combat, and as per the rules and traditions, he was supposed to be my husband and rule Nadeshiko village at my side. Shizuka glared at the Pinkett. Deciding to spare her apprentice from any more embarrassment, Tsunade intervened. I believe it goes without saying that we all miss him. I saw him as a son, the one I could never have. A tear rolled down her cheek before a scowl appeared on her face. Personally, I'd love nothing more than to destroy that Uchiha for what he did. Agreed. We all have our reasons for wanting the Uchiha dead. While he may have helped to free my country, it was Naruto that gave me the courage and ability to believe in myself, allowing me to continue my acting career while being a feudal lord. Know that you will have my full support in this matter, Koyuki said in a firm tone. Thank you, all of you, the sixth Hokage said with his patented eye smile. Is there anyone else that would like to say something before we depart? I think the name of the bridge in the Land of Waves says it all. It was there Naruto began his path to peace. He helped us regain our lost hope and courage so we could stand up to Gato. Even today we fight off bandits that think we're an easy target. Inari to this day still idolizes that blonde idiot, Tazuna said in a weary tone, really showing his age. Behind him was his daughter, Tsunami, in case he needed support. The great Naruto bridge, huh, I guess that was the start of it all. The first hearts he changed, Zabuza, Haku, and Inari. Kakashi thought before speaking to everyone. Thank you for naming your bridge after him. That truly was the start of Naruto's journey. I would implore all of you to take the detour to the land of waves and pay your respects to the great Naruto bridge on your way home. He will be greatly missed by everyone here, and rest assured that we will meet your deadline. With that, everyone went their separate ways. Those closest to Naruto stayed behind to mourn silently alone. However, before Shion, Shizuka, Koyuki, and their guards left, Sakura told them about Haku and Zabuza. She explained the impact that they had had on her teammates' life after hearing that they would be journeying to Wave in order to pay tribute to their favorite blonde. Gaara and his siblings would have gone with them, but they wanted to begin the hunt for their friend's murderer. The other leaders just wanted to be rid of the cursed Uchiha once and for all. 6 months later, the Land of Iron. In the neutral territory of the samurai, the leaders of the great nations were in assembly. Bound and gagged in front of them with his chakra sealed, was Sasuke Uchiha. He had been found within one of the old Akatsuki safe houses. Despite being heavily outnumbered, he did not go quietly. 200 shinobi faced him in combat, 50 were slain and the survivors were all heavily injured. Now here he was, facing judgment for his crimes, not just for the murder of Naruto, but for every crime he has ever committed, including those that he had initially been pardoned for. Konoha had lost a lot of the respect that they used to have as well as authority. This was due to the fact that while every other nation had sent out every available agent, this included spies, Jonin, Anbu, Konoha had sent out a mere 5 teams of Anbu and 3 teams Jonin to help in the manhunt. Mifune spoke. Sasuke Uchiha, he paused, for you numerous crimes across the 5 nations, their leaders have sentenced you to death. You and your despicable line of clansmen will end today. The samurai leader spoke with a finality in his tone. Also, do not believe that you will be granted the right of having a marked tombstone. You do not deserve the honor of ever being remembered. Furthermore, to make sure that your line remains extinct, your eyes will be removed and destroyed, your body incinerated to ashes for the wind to scatter, and just like your ashes, your memory will be forever forgotten. While we have decided not to remove your clan from the history books, they will not be looked back upon in a favorable light. The Uchiha have been a blight on our world for long enough, and it's time the rest of the world knows it as well. Koyuki stated as Sasuke just kneeled there waiting for his death. He was expecting to be beheaded by the samurai, but to his surprise, his biggest supporter and admirer approached him with death in her eyes. Sakura had spent the last 6 months reflecting on everything, mostly Naruto and Sasuke, and where her true feelings lied. She realized that Naruto had always been there for her. He was the light in her life while Sasuke was nothing but a dark stain on her past. He had taken her confidence in him, dragged it through the dirt, and shoved it back in her face when he killed her best male friend. Now she was more than willing to put an end to his life. Sakura Haruno, apprentice and successor to Lady Tsunade Senju, has volunteered to be your executioner. Mifune declared, surprising everyone but the last Senju or Kakashi. Kakashi had tried to talk Sakura out of being the one to do it, telling her that she didn't want to have those kinds of memories that would haunt her for the rest of her life. He was speaking from his own experience, when he unintentionally killed his teammate, Rin. Sakura countered his argument by saying that she needed to be the one to do it, so she could move on in her life. Sasuke couldn't help but laugh in his final moment. Oh, the irony. The one who admired me the most is going to be the one to kill me. Single quote. Sakura, however, didn't share his amusement. She focused her chakra into her fist and spoke, "This is goodbye, Sasuke." She reared her fist back and let out her famous battle cry. Sasuke closed his eyes in acceptance, just before her fist smashed into his face and destroyed his skull, splattering his brains and other entrails all over the execution site. His headless body toppled over and blood spewed from his open neck. Sakura looked down at her blood-soaked fist and then back to the corpse of her former teammate. Not a hint of emotion on her face. Kakashi walked up to his last remaining student and placed a hand on her shoulder. No reaction. The silver-haired man sighed before walking in front of her and made a single hand sign before he blew a fireball at Sasuke's corpse to incinerate it. With this death, Naruto Uzumaki's death has been avenged and peace shall remain in our lands. May his legacy of peace live on for many a generation to come. The old samurai said solemnly. I hereby call this execution to a close. If there is more that needs to be discussed, please arrange to meet at another location. This was a special occurrence. The feudal lords, Cage, and their respective companions all set out to leave for their respective lands shortly afterward. All feeling satisfied with the results and that the deadline had been met. October 10th would now be an international holiday from that day on. Sakura and Tsunade had returned to Konoha feeling as if a weight had been lifted off their shoulders. Kakashi though didn't know how to feel. On one hand, he didn't want to lose anyone else close to him, much less two of his students, but on the other hand, he knew that this was necessary to prevent the other nations from targeting his home and to maintain the peace that his departed blonde student had fought so hard to create. The void between worlds. Naruto was conflicted. While he was glad that so many people cared about him and showed up at his funeral, he wasn't sure how to feel about them threatening to wipe out his home should Sasuke not be caught before his birthday. Moreover, he wasn't sure how to feel about Sakura being the one to kill him. Yes, the bastard deserved it, but for Sakura to be the one to kill the man she claimed that she loved for so long, the one he spent most of his life to bring back to fulfill his promise of a lifetime to her, felt a little wrong to him. Cammy looked at her champion solemnly. She'd have liked to give him more time to properly work through this, but his time of departure was quickly approaching. Naruto, I know that this is hard for you, but it is time to go. Your new life awaits you, and if all goes according to plan, you will be found and treated immediately. Question marks appeared over Naruto's head. Huh, what do you mean? Kurama face palmed. Idiot, you do remember the literal fist-sized hole in your chest, right? The beast said exasperatedly. Naruto looked down at his wound and panicked. Hey, what the hell? Why couldn't you heal this, lady? Even I must uphold the rules of the multiverse, young man. People chosen to be given a second chance at life must arrive there in the state they died, no matter how grievous the wound or illness. The deity said sadly. Now, if everything goes according to plan, you will be found by one of the devil faction, one who is part of the same family that has taken in your mother. This got his attention, so much so you could practically feel the excitement in his voice. What can you tell me about them? The Grimoire family is known for their vibrant crimson red hair, much like your mother's. They are one of the remaining 72 pillars of the underworld and one of the highest ranking at Duke and famous devil families. They treat their peerage or servants as family. Their younger members, such as the one that I am hoping will find you, has an ability known as the power of destruction. One of them rules the underworld as a leader of the underworld with the title of Lucifer. Cammy explained with a smile. So, Kushina was mistaken for one of these Grimoire then. That figures. The Uzumaki luck strikes again. Kurama sighed in disbelief, getting a nod of confirmation. Good luck. I'm sending you there now. The deity said as Naruto's and Kurama's visions start to fade. I hope you enjoy your new life, my champion. DxD Universe, Park in Kuo City. A young lecherous teenager by the name of Issei Hyodo was just wrapping up his first date with a busty black-haired girl by the name of Yuma. Not that he knew that the name, Yuma, was just a hoax as well as the form she currently had. I had a wonderful day, Issei. Yuma said with a sweet smile before asking, can I ask you to do something that would make this date perfect? Ignoring the feeling of dread in his gut, the brunette horned dog replied without hesitation. Of course, anything. Wonderful, Yuma said before an evil grin came over her face and her voice changed. Will you die for me? What? He asked as he watched her transform from a teenage schoolgirl into a grown woman in clothing consisting of black, leather, strapped dominatrix outfit. A very thin strap that was around her ample bust. A black thong with thin straps that went around her hips. Long gloves that covered the full length of her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them. A shoulder guard with 3 large spikes sprouting from her right shoulder and black thigh high heel boots, complete with a pair of black feathered wings on her back. Not even taking into account that his life was in mortal danger, there was only one thought on Issei's mind. Boobies. Ugh. You are so lame. Why did God think you would be a good choice to receive a sacred gear? And truthfully, if you were less of a pervert, you'd have gotten laid by now and not die a virgin. Ah well, not my problem. Goodbye. The fallen angel summoned a pink spear of light in her palm and threw it through the pervert's gut. And good riddance. I should get out of here. She opened her wings and with a single flap, she was airborne and flying away. I've been sensing that the idiot had a devil summon flyer on him. He's likely gonna unknowingly use it as he bleeds out, she thought as she made herself scarce, never noticing the space-time disturbance. Neither did Rias Ramori as she appeared to grant to Issei's dying wish. Rias, a beautiful young woman with white skin, blue-green eyes, and a voluptuous figure. She was adorned in the typical Kuo Academy girl's uniform, which consisted of a white, long-sleeved button shirt that had a black ribbon on the shirt's collar that was worn under a black shoulder cape and a matching button-down corset, a magenta skirt with white accents and brown dress shoes with white crew-length socks. As she was about to start her standard speech to those who summoned her, her attention was drawn elsewhere. The young man who had summoned her drew his last breath, and as his chest rose and fell for the last time, a ball of dragonic energy left his body and traveled towards another figure that she hadn't noticed before now. Curious, she took a read of his power before the ball made its way to him, and she was shocked. Dear Satan, the power I'm sensing is staggering. She then saw that the ball of energy was now fusing with his right arm, and his power skyrocketed even more. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the corpse of the brown-haired boy that summoned her. I was summoned here by Issei. I should help him, but without his sacred gear he is useless to me. Besides, no one would miss him. He was just a no-good pervert anyway. Single quote. She moved her vision from the dead lecher to the blonde hunk, taking note of the hole where his heart should be. He's not gonna last long with that massive hole in his chest. She spared a final glance at the pervert. Sorry Issei, this is one contract I can't fulfill. Single quote. Done with her inner debate, she summoned her evil piece set, opened the case, and noticed that something was off. What the? My pawns. I didn't have this many mutated pieces before. Single quote. Sure enough, half of her pawns were now mutated, and even weirder was that they were all pulsing. Just how strong is this guy? The redhead thought in astonishment. Shaking out of her thoughts, she placed all 8 pawns on the whiskered boy's chest and started the reincarnation process. You who lay dying before me, in the name of Rias Ramori, join my peerage as my pawn. With that, the pieces sank into the blonde powerhouse and a massive explosion of energy erupted from him. The shockwave flung Rias backward where she smacked into a tree. All the supernatural beings within the city suddenly stopped what they were doing as they sensed a massive influx of power. Meanwhile within Naruto's mindscape, at the same moment, the ball of dragonic energy entered Naruto's body, and a giant red dragon with emerald green eyes formed within the blonde's mindscape. Kurama sighed in annoyance. Juiced gree eat, the beast drawled. Not even 5 minutes in this new world and I already have a bunkmate. He growled. I see. So you and my new partner are from another of those worlds that are out there, huh? He must be something special to qualify for a second chance at life. The dragon said gruffly. Kurama's brow twitched. And who are you to call him your partner when you just got here? The fox roared. How dare this overgrown lizard just show up and start calling Naruto his partner? Relax Kurama, Naruto said, appearing in front of both of them with his arms crossed. I'm sure that whoever he is, has a good reason for jumping ship and choosing me as his new host. Very intriguing. Not only are you so much stronger than my previous partner that it's laughable, but you are also so much smarter and also possess a purer heart than him. The red dragon started. Naruto and Kurama gave the dragon deadpan stares. Been there, heard that one before. So do you mind getting to the point? Naruto said. Very well. My point is, Issei, my previous partner, was a raging pervert and had little potential without someone lighting a fire under his ass. It just so happened that he was killed before he was even aware that I existed. Literally all he thought about were women's censors and becoming a harem king. Single quote. Okay. I get it. This Issei guy wasn't your ideal partner. That I understand, but you haven't introduced yourself yet nor what power you represent. I'm gonna assume that you're one of those sacred gears we were told about. The Jinchuriki pointed out. Ah, yes, I am Rebirthed, the dragon of domination, and sealed within one of the 13 Longinus, known as the boosted gear. It takes on the appearance of a red gauntlet with a green jewel and 2 golden spikes that will manifest on my partner's dominant arm. It will double your power every 10 seconds until you reach your limit. There are other abilities that will be unlocked as you synchronize with the gear. Rebirthed explained. That could be useful, using it in conjunction with my own strength or even Sage mode. Hey, the likes of Madara or Kagaya wouldn't have stood a chance. Naruto said, looking at his lifelong partner. I'll admit this boosted gear has potential, but while I do have something in common with this oversized gecko, I will only work with him if absolutely necessary. Kurama snorted, resting his head on his paws. He still hasn't explained why he's calling you partner despite just arriving. Diedreg ignored the insult, for the time being, sensing the evil pieces entering his new host's body. It's simple, I have been sealed within the boosted gear since the Great War. I've been within a lot of people over the years, most of them feel like a blink of an eye. I just believe it's better to work with my host during their short lives, rather than fight them at every turn. If you're interested, you can ask the devil who is in the progress of resurrecting you into her peerage in order to save your life about the war. So that's additional power I'm sensing entering my body, as if I wasn't strong enough before Diedreg joined us. What was Kami thinking when she laid out this plan of hers? Naruto groaned in pain, his body unable to hold all that power. That is what resulted in the explosion of power that threw the red-haired girl into a tree and alerted every supernatural being in the area. Naruto, get some rest. We'll get information out of the Grimoire in the morning. The fox said with hidden concern. We can talk more on this later as well, young Uzumaki. Do as the fur ball suggests and rest for now. The Welsh dragon said, ignored the snarling coming from beside him. Alright, but no fighting you two, any damage you two will undoubtedly cause in here will hurt me. I'll work out a way for the both of you to hash out your differences without harming me later. The blonde said sternly before his mental image vanished. Outside world. Moments after Naruto was successfully resurrected into a devil, two magic circles appeared in the park. One for the House of Grimoire and the other for the House of Citri. Akeno, Rias Queen, had brought along the rest of the peerage to see what was going on. The same could be said of Sona Citri, heiress to the Citri clan, who had also brought along her own peerage. A lady from Sona's peerage rushed to the unconscious blonde. What's going on? Why is he here? The lady asked in confusion as she gently scooped the man up into her arms. This woman was Anko Mitarashi, big sister figure to Naruto and a fellow pariah back in Konoha. She had purple hair that was tied into a fanned-out ponytail and brown pupil-less eyes. Currently, she was wearing a sports bra, a denim jacket that she leaves open to show off her flat, toned stomach, tight biker shorts, and Velcro sandals. I take it you know him, Anko-sensei. Kiba, Rias Knight, asked with curiosity. He is a handsome young man with short blonde hair, bluish-gray eyes, and a mole underneath his left eye. He was wearing the Kuo Academy boys' school uniform, which consists of a black blazer with white accents over a white, long-sleeved dress shirt with a black ribbon on the collar, matching black pants, and brown dress shoes. Rias finally shook her head of the cobwebs from being tossed into the tree, seeing Kuo Academy's gym teacher cradling her new pawn. She then remembered that Anko was from a world of shinobi. Could he be from there also? Yes, Yuto, his name is Naruto Uzumaki. He is like my little brother. He's from the same world I came from. The purple-haired adult said, carding his spiky hair with an enduring smile. He was pretty strong the last I saw him, but nothing compared to what I'm sensing now, and that's not counting the additional power from whatever else was added to him other than the evil pieces within him. I'm surprised you were able to resurrect him into your peerage. His chakra, Kaneko said in a mix of fear and awe. How can one person have so much and not go insane? She is a petite girl with white hair and gold eyes. The front of her hair has two long bangs going past her shoulders and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead, while the back has a short bob cut. She also wears a black cat-shaped hair clip on both sides of her hair. She was wearing the Kuo Academy girls' school uniform, without the shoulder cape. Kaneko, you know their world is different from ours. Rias said, trying to comfort her rook before looking to her fellow king. We should take him somewhere to heal. That hole in his chest is going to need expert care. Can I ask for your family's help? Yes, we'll be happy to help. As much as I'm reluctant to say this, we should inform my sister and your mother. I believe both of them have some of these shinobi in their peerage, the Citri heiress said with hesitation. Sona is a young bespectacled woman with a slim figure, black hair styled in a short bob cut, and violet eyes. She mostly dressed in a Kuo Academy girls' school uniform. I know Mom does, a woman that was mistaken for one of our clan, in fact, the Grimoire heiress said trailing off. Her last name was the same as Naruto. I think her name is Kushina. Mom. Naruto mumbled in his unconscious state. Mom. Enko exclaimed in surprise. I knew he was an orphan, but one of my friends back home told about a famous red-haired swordswoman that taught her everything she knows. She was known as the red-hot habanero within our village but known as the Red Death by her enemies. To think his mom was someone so famous. Then we should for sure let my mom know, but why let Seraphal know? The Princess of Ruin asked. Doesn't Lady Leviathan have a young girl Tuju's age? One with long silky black hair and ice abilities? The gym teacher inquired. Yes, I believe her name was Haku. She said she was killed trying to save the person most precious to her, but that's all I know about her. Sona said with a nod. Let's get him to my family's healing facilities then contact them. He is quite handsome. It would be a waste to have him die as we just resurrected him. Akano said with a sultry grin, getting a stern look from her best friend. She is a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair, and violet eyes. Her hair is usually tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs with two strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. Like most of the girls at Kuo Academy, she wears the customary Kuo Academy girls' school uniform, along with black calf-length socks. Enko also glared at the raven-haired queen. Let the kid heal before you attempt to seduce him. Oh my, could be it you like him more than a little brother, as you said. The Priestess of Thunder said teasingly, making the snake mistress growl. Enough. Enko, let's go. You'll be in charge of contacting my sister. The student council president said sternly, fixing her glasses as she summoned the transportation cycle with Rias stepping inside in. Enko glared at the queen once more before picking up her friend and entered the cycle, and the four vanished from the view of the others present. Seatree family home. One day had passed since that night in the park. Naruto woke up and noticed that the hole in his chest was gone without so much as a scar to show it was there, unlike the last time he took that damn technique through his chest. Nice, it seems this devil healing is even better than back home. So, where are we? We are in the Seatree family home. The Grimoire and her friend brought you here to heal you. That crazy snake lady has been at your side the entire time. Kurama said with Dedrag snorting in amusement. Naruto's eyes widened and he looked to his side, and sure enough, there was his big sister fast asleep on the bedside chair. That's some nickname for someone that obviously cares about our partner so deeply. Dragon of Domination said curtly. Hey, don't call her that. I only called her that once when we first met but haven't since then. The blonde admonished the fox. They were interrupted by a knock on the door. Enko woke up in response and saw that Naruto was awake. The door opened to reveal Rias, who was relieved to see that her pawn was awake, and she also saw as the purple-haired woman threw herself at the blonde and brought him into a bone-crushing hug with his head being pushed into her bountiful sensors. Poor Naruto started flailing around, signaling his need for air. Enko, I think you're suffocating him. The Grimoire heiress chuckled, earning a sheepish chuckle from the gym teacher, who let go of the new pawn. He in return gasped for air. It's good to see you too, Enko, Naruto said between breaths. I was really upset when I heard what Sasuke did to you. I'll admit being used a sacrifice censored it, but despite only being here for 4 days now, it's been far better than back home. Even if I am stuck being a gym teacher, at least I don't have to be nice about it. The snake mistress said with a shrug. I still wish you'd ease up on your warm-up exercises. I'm so sore after gym class one can't focus on my other classes. Rias whined a little before turning to the blonde hunk. I suppose introductions are in order. I am Rias Grimoire, heiress to the Grimoire clan. I see, so you are the one Kami said would rescue me. So what does that make you to me if you are the one to bring me back to life as a devil? Naruto asked before realizing he didn't return the introduction. Oh, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of Kurama, the nine-tailed demon fox, son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. Enko gasped when she heard that, which caused Rias to raise her brow at the rook's surprise. She got her unasked question answered when gym teacher quickly got over her shock and snarled. Those idiots. You look almost exactly like him. How could those moronic villagers not see the resemblance between their exalted hero and his son? But no, they had to treat you as a scapegoat and make your life a living hell, worse than they made mine. You've missed a few things, Anko. You were on a mission when Pain of the Akatsuki attacked and leveled Konoha. I learned Sage Mode from the Toads, became friends with the Fox, whose name is Kurama, and learned to work with him. Reunited Team 7 to end the war, defeated a literal goddess by the name of Kagaya. Brought peace to the elemental nations and was on my way to becoming Hokage, only to end up once again getting betrayed by Sasuke after he was not too long ago pardoned for his crimes. Naruto listed off nonchalantly. Well damn, I forget how much time passes there compared to here. Anko sighed with a shrug. Though I'm not surprised the duck butt betrayed you again. I suppose I should have seen it coming, but you know me, always wanting to the good in everyone. He said with a shrug of his own. Excuse me. Rias waved a little annoyed at being ignored, crossing her arms under her very generous bust. Hey, sorry about that, Rias. Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head while Anko nervously chuckled. To answer your question before you two went off on your update, in normal circumstances, I would be your master, and while I do have the ability to control you, I won't use that ability. I am the king of the peerage, but I see you and every one of said peerage as my family. No one is better than anyone else unless in what we call a rating game, which I will cover at a later date. The redhead began explaining. Now then, I don't know how much you know about chess or if your world even had the game, she asked, getting negative shakes of their heads. Okay, well, Miss Mitarashi is what is known as a rook, or in the rating game, the heavy-hitting tank. Super strength and able to take a beating. They usually lack speed though. Think of Choji and his clan, Naruto. Anko interrupted, getting a nod of thanks from Naruto and a sigh from Rias, who quickly realized that she'd need the rook's help with the explanation so that her pawn could understand what she was saying. Then there are the knights, quick and agile, often sword users. What they lack in strength, they more than make up for in speed. So more often than not, you'll see knights using hit and run tactics. I also thought that you'd like to know that your mother is a knight. She saw the excitement and longing in his eyes and smiled. My mother had required Kushina's help to take care of a few things. She should be on her way here sometime today. Next is the bishop, people with high magical reserves able to fling spells left and right, often used as healers rather than offensive casters, but sometimes used as both. They usually lack any sort of defensive capabilities. Honestly, after learning a little about you from Anko here and what sensed when we met, I wanted to make you a bishop, but my pawns were resonating with you. I believe you have a former enemy turned friend that arrived here that serves as one of the leaders of the underworld's bishop. Haku was her name. Rias continued her explanation, and when she saw the look of recognition in his eyes, she knew she was right. Hey, wasn't she the one who taught you that life lesson on your first real mission outside of the village? Anko asked curiously. Yeah, when a person has something important they want to protect, that's when they can become truly strong. It was something that I lived by and still do, he said fondly. At least now I have a chance to become good friends with her, even if she's still 15 years old and I'm 19 now. She should be coming as well, since Seraphal is coming by later to torment my king and she always brings her small peerage. Anko said with a grin. In fact, I think you'll get along just fine with her. She's just as hyperactive as you used to be. Oh, if Naruto gets along with Lady Seraphal, then I fear for Sona's sanity. Rias dreaded before she shook her head. Anyway, moving on, the next piece you need to know about is the Queen. They are the king's second in command. They are the perfect mix of the knight, bishop, and rook with all of their strengths but none of their weaknesses. And last but not least, the piece you possess, the pawn. Commonly known as the foot soldier of chess. However, should they get deep enough into enemy territory, they can achieve the power of promotion. This means they can gain the abilities of any other piece besides the king. They are by far the most diverse and unpredictable of the group. Hey, unpredictable you say? Naruto had a deviously foxy grin on his face. Rias was confused by his grin, even more so when Anko started laughing. So she asked, what's so funny? Rias, there is a reason your pawn pieces resonated with him so well. The purple-haired woman said as she calmed down from her laughter. He is the most unpredictable shinobi the Elemental Nations has ever known. His first mission, the one we were talking about, Haku had his teammate trapped in her jutsu and was turning him into a human porcupine. She then pointed a thumb at Naruto. What does this idiot do? Instead of helping from outside the icy dome, he jumps inside the dome and ends up in the same position as his teammate. Hey, in my defense, all I knew at the time was shadow clone jutsu and tree climbing, plus I didn't have the best aim either. The blonde pouted. But she's right, one of my friends and the smartest person I know, often said that working with me was so troublesome. The blonde chuckled. He's the type that will have carefully laid out plans and strategies and then I come along and ruin all of them with my unpredictable behavior. I just don't follow plans and tend to fly by the seat of my pants while making shit up as I go along. Sounds like you took after me a little too much, Naruto. A red-headed young lady said upon entering the room with a proud smile on her face. It's good to see you, baby. You can't imagine how jarring it was to get memories back from the chakra Minato sealed within you a few days ago after only being here for 15, but I do remember our chat within your mindscape while I helped you obtain the fox's chakra. Naruto jumped out of bed and gave his mom a big bear hug. It's good to see you too, Mom. We have a bit of catching up to do since we talked. I'm sure, you look so much stronger than before, Kushina said as she returned her son's embrace. Although, I'm not sure if I can call him my son after missing 19 years of his life. Maybe I can be a friend instead. Single quote. It's a pleasure to see you again, Lady Kushina. I hope my mother and family politics haven't bothered you too much. Rias greeted her fellow redhead. Oh, drop the formalities, Rias. If anything, I should be the one being polite to you since you're the next head of the Grimoire clan. Besides, I'm only a few years older than you. The Uzumaki woman waved her off, breaking out of the embrace of her son. Just please, watch over Naruto for me since I know I won't be able to be around all the time, being Lady Venelana's servant and all. I can take care of myself, the blonde grumbled. I did fight in a war and happened to be the linchpin of it. Yes, of course, the younger redhead said nervously. Both Anko and Kushina already know of my problem, but I need to talk to Naruto as soon as possible. I mean, I know I just met him, but somehow I know he can help me get out of this. Single quote. She's hiding something, be on your guard. I have a feeling that our journey towards peace in this realm is going to start a lot sooner than we expect. Kurama warned. I agree with Foxy, your king is nervous about something, and if I'm right it's about devil politics. Dedrag said in agreement, ignoring the growl from the fox. Yeah, I know, Mom seems to know about it too. I'm sure Rias will talk to me about when she's ready. Naruto acknowledged. Pardon me, I hope I'm not interrupting. A young girl with black silky hair tied into a bun said in a quiet but polite tone. I was told a friend of mine was being treated here. Haku, the Jinchuriki asked with tears prickling his eyes. Is that you? Yes, Haku said uncertainly before she took notice of the whiskered cheeks. Oh my, Naruto, you've gotten so much taller than me, and so much stronger than on that bridge. And he's gotten handsome as well. Hard to believe he's 4 years older than me now, but I wouldn't mind dating an older guy. She thought to herself before being startled by being brought in a tearful hug. I honestly missed you, Yano, you taught me the most important lesson I've ever learned that day in the meadow. He said as tears rolled down his cheeks, not noticing his verbal tick, nor the annoyed looks from Anko or Kushina. Really? I didn't know I had that much an impact on you, the ice user said with a quiver in her voice. Wow, he's definitely filled out since he was a kid. It's like being hugged by marble. Single quote. Trust me girlie, that mission was the start to his path to bringing peace to the elemental nations, the snake mistress said, barely hiding her annoyance. I take it you know him well then? She asked as she reluctantly broke away from Naruto's embrace. When she got a nod to her question. Then thank you. I knew from the moment that I looked into his eyes that he was lonely, just like I was. Anko waved her off nonchalantly. It was no problem. Let's just say his past and mine were similar, to say the least. Anyway, where is Lady Seraphol? I thought she'd come to investigate my new pawn. Rias injected. She is visiting her sister. The bishop said awkwardly. I see, the red-headed king sighed. I don't envy her. My brother is the same way, only I think Seraphal is worse. Single quote. You say that like it's a bad thing, the blonde said curiously. Everyone else there just sighed. Sorry Naruto, we forget you're new to this world. Seraphal Leviathan is eccentric to say the least. His king said awkwardly. You see, she sees herself as a magical girl. Despite being older than her sister, she has a childlike body, albeit with relatively large sensors for her size, and has her own TV show. She's even more eccentric than Guy and his mini-me, Rock Lee, and highly protective of Sona. Enko said wearily. Yes, sadly my king is also a cis-con, the same could be said about Lady Rias' brother. Haku said exhaustively. Naruto merely shrugs. I will hold off on my judgment until I meet her myself. You said earlier that I'd get along with her, so we'll see. You're always like this, the purple-haired woman said dully before turning to the others in the room. We won't be able to change his mind. Hey, I imagine not. Especially if he's anything like me, stubborn as a mule. The blonde's mother said with a proud smirk. He's worse. Even if someone has committed grave crimes such as mass murder, he's more likely to try to talk them down and change their minds before fighting them. He tries to find the best in everyone. It can be rather annoying at times. Enko said with a sigh, only getting more annoyed with Naruto and his mother with fox-like grins, practically saying that's my boy. It was then that a young bespectacled woman with long straight black hair that extends all the way down to her knees, with split bangs and heterochromatic eyes, with a violet left eye and a light brown right eye, wearing the standard female version of the Kuo Academy uniform and blue, semi-rimmed glasses with square lenses, entered the room. I see you're awake and feeling 100%. Honestly, I'm surprised I was out for an entire day. The blonde said, looking her over. Are all girls from this world ridiculously busty? Who are you, by the way? I am Tsubaki Shinra. I am Lady Sona's queen. She asked me to check on you while she deals with her sister. She replied. It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto. Enko's told us a bit about you. Yeah, you see, I'm Sona's rook. So, we'll be seeing each other every day, but there is a chance we'll have to fight someday if Rias and my king enter a raiding game. Enko sheepishly said. Wait. Naruto said, catching on to the implication. You're telling me I have to go to school again? He asked with a horrified expression. Sorry, Naruto, Sona and I co-lead the city of Kuo, where you arrived. We're currently in our 3rd year at Kuo Academy, and being a part of my peerage does mean you are required to attend school with me. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, you'll be in the same class as me, Sona, Tsubaki, and my queen, Akano, who'll meet later. We'll be able to help you with your schoolwork and everything else. What do you mean, everything else? Just how different is this world? He asked curiously. We've got a lot to cover, brat. I'm still getting used to everything. The snake mistress said. The blonde looked at her, then at his mother and Haku, who both nodded, then to the queen in the room. Tsubaki. Yes. What is it? She asked, remaining professional. Does this place have books on everything I need to catch up on? He asked with a grin on his face. Possibly. Why? The black-haired teen asked curiously, slightly concerned about the grin. You're not planning on doing what I think you are you? Enko asked with a deadpan look. What is he planning? Kushina and Haku thought at the same time. Hell yeah, I am. He said, not losing his grin. He then looked at his mother. I'm surprised you haven't caught on yet, Mom. You have the chakra to do it after all. What are you talking about? Rias asked, seeing her fellow redhead looking curious as well. You'll see. Can I get those books please, Tsubaki? Naruto said, with Kushina was confused and his sister figure just shrugged. Yes, of course, it may take me a while to collect them. Enko, Haku, can you help me? The queen asked politely. All right, the rook sighed. Geez, Naruto's going to show off and make Rias all the more glad she resurrected him. Single quote. An hour later they returned with mountains of books in hand, most of them carried by Enko due to the strength granted to her as a rook. Naruto was surprised by the display, but he did remember what Rias said about rook's strength. All right, Naruto, here are the books. These have everything you'll need to learn about our world. Tsubaki said evenly. Thanks. Naruto said with a smirk before dramatically cracking his neck and knuckles and then made his famous hand sign. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Oh, that's what he's gonna do. Haku thought in realization before her thoughts became confused. But why is he using shadow clones? Is there some secret I don't know? In a giant plume of smoke, hundreds of clones appeared, surprising the two original residents of this world. Alright, guys, each of you grab a book and get reading. Remember, don't dispel yourselves all at once. Do so in groups of 5, and in 10-minute intervals. Naruto said to his clones. Yes, boss. The clones say all at once. Rias was still in shock but managed to ask what was on her mind. What was that? Anko sighed. That is Naruto's special way of training. The shadow clone jutsu creates solid copies of the caster, and when they are dispelled, whatever they learn or experience is sent back to the original. It doesn't work for physical exercise though, but it's good for combat training and building up your energy reserves. Hey, why didn't I think of that? He's right about me having the reserves to use it, but maybe it wouldn't have been as effective since I don't have the fox, but still. Kushina said with a sheepish laugh. When did he learn this? He didn't seem to know about the learning back in Wave. Haku asked in awe. I didn't learn about it until I started training to complete Dad's original jutsu, the Rasengan. The blonde said. My sensei, Kakashi, told me about it. You managed to add an element to the Rasengan. Minato spent years trying to do that, ya know. His mother said in shock. Yeah, it turned out to be one of my best jutsu. I named it Wind Style, Rasenshuriken. He said with a smile. Isn't that the jutsu you used to avenge Asuma against the Akatsuki? The snake mistress asked. Yeah, but I've improved it since then. Now I can throw it like an actual shuriken. The blonde said with a smirk. Naruto is amazing. With his skills, Riser doesn't stand a chance. Rias thought excitedly before addressing her pawn. Would you be willing to show me what you can do at some point? Well, if we are going to be working together as a team, then yeah, I don't mind. He said with a kind smile. So, she's interested in our power. Something tells me that whatever she's hiding involves a potential fight. Kurama said thoughtfully. I agree, the young lady is hiding it well, but her eyes are shining with excitement. Something to ask her about later. Diedreg said with a huff, flames shooting from his nostrils. Naruto was brought out his conversation with his inner companions when a bubbly black-haired girl bounced in alongside an exhausted bespectacled petite girl with matching hair color. One had her hair in short pigtails and the other was fashioned into a princess-style cut with a small bob. Both were surprised to see hundreds of identical blondes reading books. What's going on here? Why are there so many of the same guy here? Sona asked frantically. Oh, is this one of those jutsu you shinobi can do? The smaller, bustier girl said excitedly. What's it do? Can you teach it to me? Lady Seraphol, please calm yourself. Yes, this a jutsu from our world. Haku said, addressing her king before explaining what it was and what it did. However, when the former Kunoichi said she couldn't teach her the jutsu. What do you mean you can't? The Leviathan pouted angrily. Seraphol was it, Naruto said, getting a nod in return. From what I've heard, this world's chakra is different from ours. That, and I don't sense any within you at all. I do sense an overwhelming amount of another energy, I think you call it demonic energy, within you, but I don't think that will allow you to use this technique. Oh phooey, she pouted, even more, looking adorable if he was honest with himself. However, she quickly got over it and started posing. Well, guess it can't be helped. I'm the magical girl Leviathan. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. He said with a chuckle. They weren't kidding when they said she was hyperactive. She's shorter than the girl next to her but so much stronger and has the better figure. Single quote. Mr. Uzumaki, can I inquire as to why you are studying like this so soon? You just woke up not long ago if I am to guess. You should be taking it easy. The sea tree heiress said sternly. Wow, all business no play with this girl. She's far too serious. The boosted gear wielder thought before addressing her with a shrug. I'm fine. I'm never down for long. The longest I was out of commission was for a week when my arm was busted up. Something like a chidori through my chest is nothing. My feeling factor coupled with my partner allows me to up and about pretty quickly. Regardless, I would appreciate it if you didn't do anything strenuous until our healers give you a clean bill of health. She said evenly. In case it's not apparent already, I'm Sona Citri, the next head of the House of Citri, though in the human world I go by Sona Shitori. Okay. Why the alias? Naruto asked curiously, clearing not understanding. When Rias introduced herself, she didn't have an alias for the human world. Sona's just overly cautious, his king said offhandedly, but as a result, I'm usually the one other factions come to when they want something. He nodded in understanding while Sona sighed. For the rest of the day, the devils took the time to get to know the new pawn and his life before being sent to their realm while Naruto's clones continue studying. It has been 2 days since Naruto woke up and started learning everything he would need to learn about this new world he was in. During that time, with the help of his army of shadow clones, Naruto was pretty much up to date on what he needed to know. The technological side of things he was still trying to get a grasp on, but he at least knew how to access the internet, as well as how to answer a cell phone and make calls. Ask him to do anything beyond basic searching or open a Word document and he would a little lost. However, that wasn't the issue he was dealing with now. Seriously, you guys wear this to school? Naruto asked incredulously as he was dressed in the Kuo Academy uniform. Where's the orange? Where's the flare? Hyodo tried to wear an orange shirt underneath his jacket. He left the jacket open for all to see and Sona gave him a month's detention, not that it stopped him from peeping on the girls outside of the locker room with his perverted friends. Rias groaned. So please, if you're going to add orange, have it be a tie or something that she can overlook. Students are already gonna think you're a delinquent thanks to your blonde hair and whiskers. And, the blonde asked with a shrug. So I'll be an outcast again, so what? It's better than getting fangirls. Kiba shuddered at the mention of fangirls and nodded in agreement with his fellow blonde's statement. While he was polite to them and did appreciate them, they did get slightly annoying at times. Even Rias and Akino agreed since they were the great ladies therefore had their fair share of fangirls, which kinda made them wonder if most of the school's girls were lesbian or not. Well regardless, I'm getting a bandana or something, my forehead feels naked. The Jinchuriki said with a frown. Akino just giggled while Rias sighed. Come on, let's go see Sona and get your schedule. Though I wouldn't be surprised if there will be an assembly to announce Hyodo's death to the school as well as have an honorary moment of silence for him. Even if he was a massive pervert, he was still a student here and he did have a few other friends than the other two perverts. Naruto nodded and followed closely behind as the rest of Rias's peerage, minus Akino, all went to their own classes due to them being in year brackets. On the way, the rumor mill was already starting to turn. Word quickly spread that a mysterious blonde boy was in the company of 2 of the 4 great ladies of the academy. As Rias suspected, they were suspected that Naruto was a delinquent due to his hair color and whiskers. However, that didn't stop a few girls from thinking that he was cute. Great, I'm going to have a mix of fangirls and haters, my life is never easy, he thought as he kept following Rias and Akino to the student council's office while both Kurama and Didraig laughed a bit, both silently agreeing that it will be entertaining to watch at the very least. 3rd year homeroom classroom. All right class, quiet down. Class will start as soon Ms. Gramori, Ms. Himahima, Ms. Prez, and Vice Prez arrive, a red-haired woman said. It appears we will be getting a new addition to our humble class. Ms. Valestine, is it that blonde delinquent that was seen with Rias and Akino? One of the 3rd year students asked. Blonde delinquent, I thought I was the only one to come here, surely Ryuji didn't follow after me, a brunette girl thought to herself, before realizing something. No, that's impossible, even if he somehow got into this school, he'd be a 2nd year. This was Makoto Nijima, a 19-year-old young woman, with brown hair in a bob cut with blunt bangs and a French braid-styled headband that matches her hair color, red eyes, and unlike most of the girls at Kuo Academy, she wasn't ridiculously busty. No, she was barely a B cup, not that she cared. She was a martial artist, a practitioner of Aikido, and a transfer student of Shujin Academy after her adventures with her former colleagues. That's right. Now, I don't know all the details, but apparently, he's from one of our fair country's smaller islands and has come to the mainland after tragedy struck his home. Instructor Valestine said solemnly, causing the student body to share her sadness. This was Sarah Valestine, 27 years old with a peaches and cream complexion, long red hair, amber eyes, wearing a steel blue dress that left a generous view of her cleavage and her left leg visible, and thigh-high brown leather-heeled boots, with a yellow waist-length jacket. She was a former mercenary wanting nothing more than to put down her sword and gun and help the next generation in the future. While she often got into trouble for her provocative attire, she didn't care. She wasn't the only one to dress in such a way. She became quick friends with Anko after meeting a bar to unwind after a long day at work. Everyone was brought out there musing when there was a knock on the door before it slid open. "Sorry for being late," Sona said as she walked in with her queen, Rias, Akano with Naruto waiting in the hall. "It's all right, I was informed you'd be late due to our new transfer student," the older redhead said with a shrug. "Where is my new pupil anyhow?" "He's in the hall waiting for you, call him in," Rias said as she and the rest four great ladies took their seats. Ms. Prez probably threatened him with cleanup duty for a month unless he actually has some respect. Sarah thought before nodding. "All right, you can come in and introduce yourself to the class." When Naruto walked in, Makoto's world seemed to slow to a crawl. The spiky blonde hair, his cerulean blue eyes that held sadness, strife, and turmoil, and his muscular body that told her that he fighter much like herself. However, what really caught her attention was the bright, carefree smile he flashed the class. "Hello everyone, I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he said with his usual foxy smile making many girls blush. "I hope we get along since I'll be in your care for the year." Sarah noticed the way her new student carried himself and was immediately even farther downheartedly. "He carries himself like a warrior, one who's been through hell and back." His eyes relay that as well. "Poor kid, he's too young to have that look." "Nice to meet you Naruto, please take the seat behind Ms. Nijima." Makoto raised her hand letting the blonde know who and where she was. As he passed her to side down, their eyes met and both offered the other a small smile before turning their attention to the front of the class. While instructor Sarah started her lecture, Naruto thought about the conversation he had with Sona and the student council. Flashback. Student council office. "Here is your schedule," Sona said as she handed Naruto the sheet of paper. "I tried to get you in the same classes as Rias and or Akano, but I wasn't able to. However, due to how powerful you are, I suspect it won't be long before you are promoted to high-class devil and get your access to your own evil pieces, and while Rias and I are still trying to fill out our ranks, free to use your classes to start planning your peerage." "Are you sure? I mean, it feels wrong to be planning potential members when you're still trying to fill out your own ranks," the blonde asked, not wanting to step on toes. "I mean, Sona, you know that Anko is going to want to join me, and I know Haku and possibly my mom are going to want to be traded to me, so you're already going to have to look for that extra member." "It's fine," the C-Tree heiress dismissed. "I knew from the moment I saw how she reacted when she saw you. I knew she'd be leaving my peerage sooner or later, especially when I sensed how strong you were." "She's right," Rias said, wrapping her arms under her bust. "In fact, if you find someone you really get along with and they'd make a good addition to your team, I'd be more than willing to use one of my pieces if they are compatible with the remaining pieces I have, and then trade them to do you." "Well, all right, thank you," Naruto said with a sigh before composing himself. "So, I'm gonna assume that there are some rules around the school especially for someone like me." "That's right," Sona said with a nod. "And not just you as a shinobi. Don't use your spells, or in the case of you and Anko, no jutsu in public when there are humans around. The existence of the supernatural is kept a secret from the general public to keep the peace. Only those from the church know about us, and while we are technically enemies, they won't attack us unless we endanger the innocent." The boosted gear wielder nodded. "So no spamming my shadow clones to go through the library or the computer lab during school hours or walking up the side of buildings." Earning a nod in return. "Now, you should know about your cover story. You're from one of Japan's smaller islands and have come to the mainland after tragedy struck your hometown. It's up to you to come up with a backstory about your scars," Tsubaki said, adjusting her glasses. "Really? That's my cover story?" Naruto groaned. "You realize that will only cause the student body and staff to feel sorry for me, and possibly give me fangirls who will want to heal my wounded heart, right? It's the best we could come up with in short notice. We only had a few days since you heal so quickly, something else we'll have figure out how to explain if you get hurt during class. Rias said tiredly. However, you should be wary of our homeroom teacher. She's a former mercenary and was known as the Purple Lightning. Akano said seriously. I see, so she has combat training. I'm surprised one of you hasn't tried to acquire her yet if that's the case. The Uzumaki asked curiously. We haven't because she is trying to settle down and hang up her weapons. However, if push comes to shove, we will talk to her about the supernatural and joining us. Sona said stoically, getting a fair enough as a response. We should get to class. Instructor Sarah is likely waiting for us, and for you to be introduced to the class. Rias said, looking at the clock on the wall, getting nods of agreement from everyone. Flashback end. Naruto was brought back to his senses when the bell chimed, signaling the end of class. Alright, that's it for me. I'll see some of you later if you have the self-defense class. Sarah said cheerfully. Guess I should see what class 1 have next. He said to himself before noticing his next class was with Anko. Excuse me, Mr. Uzumaki, Makoto said, getting his attention. What class do you have next? I have gym class with instructor Matarshi, and you? The blonde asked politely. Same, Ms. Grimori and the rest of the great ladies will be joining us as well. She said with a smile. Care to walk together? Sure, I could use a tour guide. Rias and Akano only showed me the direct path to the student council office and this classroom. Naruto said, shocking her with how informal he was, but recovered quickly and led him out of room. Rias and Sona had been watching them the entire time and noticed that Makoto seemed to take interest in the new pawn. They didn't know much about her past other than her Aikido training, and she was student council president at her previous school. There were rumors of someone with her figure being a part of the notorious Phantom Thieves of Heart, but since they used voice modifiers and wore those masks, it was difficult to identify the members outside of their leader. However, they could feel the girl had a sacred gear, but couldn't tell it was. What do you think? Sona asked her best friend. I don't know. What I do know is that depending on how much time they spend together will depend on if she joins his peerage. Her sacred gear interests me as well, Rias said quietly as they walked to the gym field, following and observing Naruto and Makoto, although Rias was a little worried. Is that Naruto's type, fit and trim with small busts? Or does he just like the physically fit girls? She thought. As per the norm, Naruto's gift curse of attracting friends and the affection of the opposite censored was in full effect. Despite the short time they've known each other and her watching over Naruto alongside Anko, Rias was slowly falling for him, and while she wasn't dropping any hints as of yet, her closest friends were starting to notice. After all, power attracts, and Naruto was insanely powerful. On the field, Anko was standing there in her gym uniform, a pair of red booty shorts and a white t-shirt that looked a little too small since it conformed to her figure and highlighted each orb of flesh, causing each guy to drool. Even Naruto had to stop himself from drooling. In fact, he would have if didn't notice that it was the same for each of the girls, making him want to strangle someone. What kind of pervert designed these uniforms? He asked with a growl. I mean, the guys are conservative and cover everything, but the girls leave little to the imagination, especially for those girls that go commando. Single quote. Alright, you little shits, Anko said, getting everyone's attention. Since we have a new face among us, I want all of you to work even harder to show him how things are done. Now get to it. 100 laps, 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups. Not that Naruto will break a sweat over a workout that light. Nor will the devils, or they shouldn't. The snake mistress thought with a smirk, catching the, "Are you serious?" look from her favorite blonde. However, what caught her attention was that all but one human groaned. Makoto seemed to share the look Naruto gave her, but looking the girl over, she could see that she's already very fit. The violet-haired teacher also noticed what her king and Rias had. The female transfer student had a hidden power. Whether or not it was a sacred gear or not, all she knew was that it was powerful. After everyone was finished, Anko realized she still had half the class to go. Everyone but Makoto and the devils were exhausted. Alright, now that the warm-up is over, it's time to really get to work. We have that track meet coming up in a month or two, so I want everyone to pair up to do three-legged race practice. Again the exhausted humans groaned but did as told, quickly pairing up with their friends. Sona and Rias paired up together while Tsubaki and Akino paired up. That left Makoto and Naruto to pair up due to being the new kids on the block, so to speak, therefore they didn't have time to make friends, even if she had been there for a week longer than he was. Both laughed nervously since it was a little awkward, especially since there was at least physical attraction between the two. Both of them noticed the pain hidden in their eyes, and even though the metaverse was gone, and she still had her inner strength. Makoto couldn't stand to be in Tokyo. Not after Akira, her leader and who she thought was her first real love, chose the model of the Phantom Thieves as his girlfriend. So she moved to Kuo with her sister who continued to work as a defense attorney. If she was honest with herself, she was scared since she seemed to be already developing feelings for her new classmate. And Naruto, well, his wounds of betrayal were still fresh, and while he was trying not to let it get to him or hold him back from starting fresh, he was wary of letting people close. "Hey," the brunette said, getting her partner's attention. "I know we just met, but let's do our best with this, then we can give each other some space, all right?" "Yeah." The blonde nodded before offering her a smile. "Doesn't mean that we can't be friends eventually." "I'd like that," the Aikido practitioner said with a smile as they got ready to do their practice run. The former T&I specialist laughed a bit after witnessing the exchange. "Already winning the heart of another girl, eh, Naruto? Wonder what position she'll hold in his future peerage." Single quote. Surprising to both of them, they worked in perfect unison as if they'd done the exercise 1,000 times before. There was a round of applause for the pair, with mixed whispers of jealousy and admiration. How can two people who have only just met pull that off perfectly? One pair inquired, who were tripping over themselves. Don't they look adorable together? Also as if they are two sides of a single coin, light and dark as one. A rather philosophically romantic girl cooed, with many of the hopeless romantics agreeing with her. Off to the side, the third-year devils and Anko were all listening with different expressions. "And the rumors are going to fly after this," Akino said in her usual playful voice. "Is it always like this for him?" Sona asked her rook with a heavy sigh. "Considering how high school is in the world, I'm surprised it took this long. I give it a week before Naruto and Nijima are the best of friends, with one or both of them having a crush on the other." Anko said with a shrug. "Either way, I'm gonna be holding this over him for a while." "You have to admit, Madam President, at least he makes things interesting," Tsubaki said with a small smile. "This," the rook said with a sly smirk. "This is nothing. It hasn't even been a full day yet. Our world hasn't had a chance to introduce itself to him outside of our two houses yet. Just prepare the umbrellas for when shit hits the fan." This time both Sona and Rias groaned, with Akino laughing lightly. They could only imagine what will happen if he runs into the fallen angels that were lurking somewhere in town. From what Anko told them about him, Naruto's not the type to back down from a fight, not that he couldn't take them if needed. Naruto and Makoto, however, were blushing up a storm, with the brunette groaning in annoyance and embarrassment. "Why did I come to a former all-girls school again? You realize that in the eyes of these busybodies that we might as well be already dating, right?" "Unfortunately I think you're right," he said as he knelt down and undid their bindings. "And it's only going to get worse since I am a part of the orc." "Meaning you are going to be in the company of two of the great ladies at all times. I do not envy you, Uzumaki," she said sympathetically. "Then again, I suppose involved in this, given that people here seem to think we make a good pair. Well, again, let's start off as friends and go from there," Naruto said with a small smile, getting a smile in return. Thankfully they were saved by the bell, signaling the end of the period. Whether it was intentional or accidental, Makoto and Naruto ended up having all the same classes, and not just that day either. At lunch, they decided to eat together and share their schedules with each other. Did Sona and Rias have anything to do with this? Naruto asked himself. "I don't know, but this seems to be too much to be a coincidence," Kurama said with narrowed eyes. "You're paranoid, furball. Even if the Citri girl did say he could recruit the students, there is no way they'd orchestrate this. I'm sure you've noticed the looks the Grimoire girl has been sending our host's direction." Didrag snorted. "Enough, both you," Naruto reprimanded. "You both make good points. We'll ask them after school, besides we need to talk to them about housing arrangements anyhow." Single quote. I may not have Johanna anymore, but something fishy is going on at this school. Uzumaki feels like he has some sort of supernatural power, so did Mitarashi-sensei as well as the four great ladies. Makoto thought using her law enforcement heritage and her previous experience as a phantom thief to figure something supernatural was happening. After class, Rias and Akino approached Naruto. Time for club activities. We'll show you the way unless you have other plans with Ms. Nijima. Rias Queen asked with a teasing tone. Not you too, Akino, the blonde groaned, noticing Makoto facepalming as well. No, we don't have any plans tonight. In fact, I need to talk to you too. Oh, well then, let us be off. Rias said with a smile. Have a good night, Ms. Nijima. The three Grimoire devils didn't notice Makoto watching them leave with narrowed eyes. I need to talk with Sis. Maybe she can give me some insight as to what I should do. Single quote. Orc Old School House. Upon arriving at his king's headquarters, he couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle, getting questioning looks from everyone. Something you find amusing, Naruto? Rias asked with a bit of an edge to her voice. Gonna be honest here and say that you made your headquarters blatantly obvious. A rickety old building that is probably redone lavishly inside in gothic reds and blacks, might as well have a neon sign advertising, "Devils live here." The pawn said without restraint. And I thought you were supposed to be trying to hide your existence to the humans. He does have a point, Lady Rias. Kiba said timidly. Kaneko nodded, still nervous around the chakra power plant known as Naruto. It was just so potent, she was struggling to keep her Nekosho features from popping out. Rias was now pouting that most of her peerage was agreeing with her pawn. Well, it's supposed to be a cover the occult research club, which I feel it does rather well. Though now that has been pointed out, maybe it does it too well. With that said, they entered the building, confirming that the blonde was correct in his assumption. On the way to the lounge where they have their meetings and hang out, Naruto noticed a room that was heavily sealed but decided to question it later. The lounge itself was equally lavish with a couch that could seat up to 3 people, a couple of chairs, and they were all surrounding a mahogany table. On the far side of the room was a beautiful mahogany desk and a comfortable-looking armchair with papers and an old quill pen. Rias took her place behind the desk with Akino taking her place standing beside the desk, Kaneko plopping down on the couch and pulling out a bag of sweets from seemingly nowhere, and Kiba taking a seat in one of the chairs. Now then, you said you wanted to talk to us about something. The redhead asked curiously. Yeah, about a couple of things actually. He said with a serious look. First and most important is my housing arrangements since I don't have a place to stay. That was already taken care of while you recovering and studying. We bought you a condo in the same building as the rest of us. So in a sense, we all live together but with our own private homes. Akino said with her usual smile. And no, Sona and her peerage don't live with us in the same building. She has her own place for her family. I suppose that makes sense. You might be allies, but when it comes time, you will be enemies in the ranking games. The blonde shrugged. I suppose I will need to build up cash for when I get my own peerage. Even when you become a high-class devil, you'll still be my pawn, Naruto, so don't worry about it. Rias said with a smile that turned teasingly, unless want your own building for your harem. Whatever. Naruto waved her off. Since you brought it up and you will tease me about it later, he semi-glared at Rias and Akino. Did you and or Sona have anything to do with me and Makoto having every class together? Actually no, neither of us have the influence to rig your schedules like that. My brother or mother on the other hand, it wouldn't surprise me if they had something to do it. The Grimoire heiress said with a sigh. In other words, my mom pestered them into giving the transfer students a friend, hoping it will become something more. He groaned. Funny you mention Lady Kushina. Akino laughed nervously. She is going to be dropping by once a week to visit and give you food. In other words, Kushina is trying to make up for the 19 years she was here. Kurama said with a huff, making his host groan. Well, I'll have to talk to her about that, though I do appreciate the help since it will be one less thing to worry about. The Jinchuriki sighed after calming himself. Now then, now that your issues are dealt with, are you ready to start handing out flyers? The redhead said with a smile. Sure, I don't mind. But mind I start tomorrow. I would like to get settled into my home and rest up for another day of the rumor mill. He asked warily. Yes, of course. His king nodded. I have to admit though, you and Nijima do make quite the pair. Your bright yellow hair and dark brown hair. It's like what was said at gym class, two sides of the same coin, light and dark. Akano said teasingly. Instead of responding or reacting in any way, Naruto ignored her and looked to Rias. Mind showing me the way home and giving me the key to my condo? The queen merely pouted at being ignored and not getting a reaction out her target, while the heiress merely nodded as if saying sure before she addressed the rest of her peerage. Already everyone. I expect you all to get to your contracts when you are called or get some training in. Yes, President. Everyone sounded at once as Rias and Naruto left for the condo building. When they were away from the school and no one was around, Naruto figured now was the time to confront Rias. So, now that we're alone and no one can try to divert the conversation, care to tell me what it is that you're hiding and why you were so excited about how powerful I am? I don't know what she said, startled only to see the hardened look on her pawn's face. All right, you got me. Enko did say despite playing the fool that you were always too observant for your own good. However, I will ask you to wait till tomorrow after school so that I can have everyone involved there so that everything can be explained in full. Is there a reason you can't tell me now? He asked curiously. I need to prepare myself, the redhead said weakly, looking vulnerable and self-conscious, a stark contrast to her confident self he's seen the last few days. The others would be able to fill in whatever I forget to mention. Great, now I feel like an asshole. Naruto sighed. All right, but no forgetting or trying to stall. I'm not a big fan of being jerked around. Had enough of that back in my world. The redhead nodded weakly as they walked the rest of the way in silence. Meanwhile with Makoto. Hey sis, I'm home. Makoto called out as she dropped her school bag by the door. Welcome home, Makoto. How was school? Sei asked from the kitchen. She is a tall and beautiful woman with upper back length ashen brown hair that is asymmetrically parted on the left-right side and brown eyes that are sometimes depicted with a hint of mauve red. She wears a black business suit with a black turtleneck. Her blazer's cuffs and the lower part have clamshell-like designs. Accessory-wise, she wears a necklace of a section sign, which references her judicial occupation. It also appears in the top right of Shujin Academy's emblem, earrings, and a few dark hair clips can be seen above her right ear. She has violet fingernails and wears black or dark gray high heels. She is sometimes seen with a smartphone and a black bag slung over her shoulder. After the events in Tokyo, she went from being a public prosecutor to being a defense attorney after Makoto and the Phantom Thieves changed her corrupted heart. However, after Akira broke her sister's heart, she was really tempted to nail his ass to the cross. The only reason she didn't was because Makoto asked her not to, instead asked to move as far away from her former team as possible. Now she was often out of town for work trying to pay for their new home. Typical high school drama, only this time I seem to have gotten myself censored into being a topic of the rumor mill. The former Phantom Thief sighed before starting her explanation. We got a new transfer student today with a tragic past. Blonde, spiky hair, blue eyes that showed he's been through hell and back, fighter's build, has a kind of a feral look about him with these 6 whiskers on his cheeks, 3 on each side. Turns out we have every class together like someone is trying to hook us up or at least have the 2 new students become friends. Anyway, rumors started flying after gym class and the 3-legged race practice, where once again, we were pushed into working together, and turns out we have chemistry and ended up doing the exercise perfectly. So naturally, the girls all cooed and awed, saying stuff like we're 2 sides of the same coin, light and dark, perfect match for each other. I see, Sei commented as she exited the kitchen, drying her hands signifying she was doing dishes. He sounds cute, but I take it there is more to this tale than just some chemistry that started the rumor mill to start spinning. Yeah, the younger Nijima nodded. You know that from my time with my old group that I've developed a kind of 6th sense for weird and unusual things, right? Getting a slow, calculated nod in response. Well, something weird is going on at the school. The student council and occult research club all give off supernatural auras, so does the new student, Mr. Uzumaki. And I thought we moved from Tokyo to get away from this stuff, the DA sighed. What do you think it is? Is the metaverse active here or is it something else? No, it's definitely something else. This is hidden in plain sight, whereas it was in the metaverse, I'd have some sort of app or navigation tool on my phone. Makoto said with a deep thoughtful look. I want to investigate, but I have a feeling Uzumaki would be able to sense me. As I said, he has the eyes and body of a warrior, no doubt has the instincts of one as well. Not to mention I'm not exactly the best at shadowing someone. So what's stopping you from investigating the student council or the orc? Sei asked with a raised eyebrow while inwardly worried for her sister for more than one reason. Because President Shitori and Ms. Grimori are close friends, and Uzumaki is already a part of the orc, the brunette said, getting a nod of understanding in return. Well, I would still investigate, but be careful about it. If the supernatural is involved in this town and revolving around those two groups, it's bound to be dangerous. The ashen-haired woman said seriously. I'm afraid that if you get caught, you'll end up getting pulled into whatever trouble comes their way. Don't worry sis, I'll be careful, Makoto said with a smile, not knowing that her life was about to change forever. The next day, after a long, drawn-out drama-filled day, Naruto made his way to the orc building, knowing that Makoto had been watching him and the four great ladies closely. Something that caused him to shake his head, since she really wasn't being subtle in her attempt to follow him. Yano, Nijima, if you wanted to talk, you could have just asked. He stated without looking back. And you would have agreed to tell me what I wanted to know. The former phantom thief asked. Maybe, maybe not, depending on what you wanted to know and what you were willing to share. The former shinobi said with a smirk, looking over his shoulder at her. Besides, you're not really helping the rumors if you're gonna start acting as my personal stalker. Oh, shut up. Are you gonna invite me in or not? Makoto asked with a heavy blush. Sorry, but not today. Rias has something personal to discuss with the club, he said with a frown. If you really want to talk to the orc later, then I can arrange a meeting, possibly tomorrow if that's alright. Yeah, that'll be fine. Just let her and President Shitori know that I'd like to ask them a few questions. She said with a nod of understanding. I'm not giving up, even if I am not the greatest at shadowing someone. Single quote. Orc Lounge. Sorry for the delay, had to deal with Nijima. She said she'd like to talk to you two tomorrow if possible. He said with a shrug. Seems you were right about her having some connection to the supernatural if she wants to talk to the two heiresses of two devil kings. I see. Well, we'll deal with that tomorrow. For now, please take a seat. This might take a while, Rias said before taking a deep breath, looking to everyone else for support. In the room was Rias's mother, Venelana, her brother the Devil King Searsex Lucifer, his queen and wife Graphia, Sona and her sister Seraphal, as well Haku and Sona's peerage. How everyone was able to fit in the room was beyond him, but he decided just to roll with it. Now, we've told you about devil culture and the remaining pillars, right? His king asked, getting a nod in return. Well, due to how low the number of pure-blooded devils remain and the rays of reincarnated devils, it is the opinion of the elders that pure bloods should only mate with other pure bloods. And since I am a pure blood and heiress to the house of Grimori, I am in an arranged marriage with another noble, pure-blooded house, known as the House of Phoenix. The problem is I don't want to marry the man I am engaged to. He's a pig and a playboy that treats his peerage, which happens to be made up of all women, as his sensual outlets. Which is the only way he views the female race. If I were to marry, I'd want to be for love, and with someone that loves me for me, not for my title, wealth, and power as the heir to my family. Unfortunately, it's not easy to break out of these contracts, as they are binding with only two ways out of it. One of which would disgrace her and our family, and the other is was a long shot. Searsex said neutrally. Alright, and what are these options? The former shinobi asked with narrowed eyes. 1. Rias loses her virginity to another man, which is the option that would lead to disgrace, and the one was a long shot, would be for her to beat Riser in a rating game. Venelana said with a frown. And that's the reason you got so excited after learning of my strength? Naruto asked Rias, getting a shameful nod in return. So, let me see if I got this scenario straight, he said as he took a breath with Anko, knowing what was about to happen. She knew he was about to be brutally honest and cause all sorts of trouble in doing so. The day I arrived just so happened to be the same day this Issei Hyodo guy was slated to be crossed off the Fallen Angels hit list. You knew what was likely to happen to him, so you had your familiars give him a summoning flyer in the hopes he'd call for you on his deathbed. You wanted to resurrect him as a pawn under your command since he was a holder of a sacred gear and you could use him for your own agenda. But your plans changed when I showed up. You sensed my power and Issei's sacred gear jumped ship to me, boosting my already massive power. So now that you had a better candidate for a pawn, one that was far stronger and who wasn't a blatant pervert who would need to be manipulated via the flesh of the fairer censored, you decided to use your pieces on me, therefore I'd be the one you ended using and not the now Issei. Did I get all that right? He finished whilst doing his best to school his features. Yes, that was the plan. Akano spoke for her king since she was ashamed of her approach. We sensed the bare minimum of magic in Hyodo, so we weren't even going to consider him until Kaneko said the pervert smelled of dragons. And while we didn't know for sure that he had the boosted gear, as far as we know, only 3 dragons were sealed into sacred gears, 2 of which were Longinus-class gears. Rias chipped in. Something I had to take a chance on, till you arrived. Even before D-Drake jumped ship, you were already incredibly powerful. I knew you were strong enough to save me from my engagement. A heavy sigh escaped the sacred gear holder. He could understand where she was coming from, wanting to escape from a loveless marriage where she'd be nothing but a trophy wife while her asshole of a husband would continue to sleep around. Add the fact that he'd highly likely take the females from her peerage to use as sensoredual outlets and he could really see why she wanted out. Looking back at them he spoke. Listen, all right, I understand where you're coming from and why you did what you did. I am grateful that you saved my life and all, I just wished that saving me didn't come at the cost of someone else's life. He may have been a hopeless pervert who's beyond redemption, but he had a family, friends, loved ones, people he cared about and who cared about him. He stopped and rubbed the back of his head in a depreciating manner. I guess all I'm saying is that I wished there was a way that you could have saved him too. Naruto dear, I'm afraid that wasn't an option. The moment his sacred gear transferred from him to you, his fate was already sealed. Kushina said solemnly, getting everyone else in the room to lower their heads sadly. You see, if a sacred gear user ever had their gear extracted by force or otherwise, they'll die. The only way to revive them is to return their gear and resurrect them. So in a sense, they're like Jinchuriki, except in my case, we don't know if having Kurama would be enough to keep me alive if I were to lose the boosted gear. Right, the Jinchuriki asked lowly. I'm afraid so, Mr. Uzumaki. Graphia said solemnly. Without uttering another word, Naruto turned and began to leave, clearly not in the best of moods. Watching him leave, Kushina and Anko couldn't help but feel worried. Rias was also feeling worried, but on 2 accounts. One was whether or not he'd still help her and the other was about how her relationship with him was affected by this news. Rias, Sona started before said redhead nodded. I know, I'll be tracking his pieces in case he gets into trouble or attempts to stray. She didn't like it, but she was only doing it to keep an eye on him. Given his current mental state, someone could take advantage of him. I wouldn't worry too much. He just needs some time to get his head on straight. He's not the type to abandon comrades and those in need. Anko said reassuringly. I hope you're right, the Grimoire heiress said warily. Streets of Kuo. As Naruto stormed out of the old schoolhouse, he missed Makoto standing there, nor did he notice her following after him. She was doing it out of concern and curiosity, wondering what happened in there and why her new friend was so upset. Naruto, you need to calm down. I know how you feel about this topic, but there must be a reason. Kurama said as he looked at the overgrown lizard. Indeed, the sacred gear system was implemented to give humans a fighting chance against the supernatural. The leader of the angels loved humans and wanted to protect them, thus giving them artifacts to do so. He made sure to make so that evil forces couldn't take the sacred gears easily, but doing so would cost the holder's life as it tied to their very soul. D-Drake said solemnly. That doesn't make it right. Playing with someone's life no matter the reason is unforgivable. Upon awakening their sacred gears, their lives change forever and not always for the better, I imagine, Naruto growled as he clenched his fists. Well, what do we have here, a stray perhaps? A condescending male voice broke the boosted gear wielder out of his inner conversation while Makoto hid behind a bush. Stray. What is he talking about? She asked herself. Be careful, partner. I'm pretty sure this guy is a fallen angel. The Welsh dragon warned. And your new stalker is in the bush, so try to be discreet. The nine-tailed fox sighed. Ignoring his partner's warning, I'd turn around and leave me alone if I were you, you damned crow. Tough guy, huh? The fallen angel snidely. Too bad for you, I'm under orders to take care of any obstacles to our objective. We thought we succeeded when Rainier killed that pervert, we didn't accept the sacred gear that he possessed to jump ship. If you want a fight, you got it. The blonde growled as he turned towards his opponent, unclenching his fist and immediately summoned a fully powered Rasengan. I don't even need the gift I got from Hyodo to deal with you. Sacred gear. Why did Uzumaki call this guy a crow? The hidden Nijima asked, confused. How was he able to make that spiraling orb in his hand? You deal with me, you sensority little shit, I'll show you not to insult me. The fedora-wearing fallen angel shouted as he summoned a blue spear of light, once again shocking the mortal. The fallen threw his spear, smirking as it hit the arrogant blonde, only to lose his smirk when a log exploded in his place, then roared in pain as Naruto slammed his attack into the crow's spine as he called out the name of the attack. Rasengan. Are you done already? I thought you fallen angels were supposed to be tough. Naruto asked as he saw his opponent on the ground, seemingly unable to move his legs. You asshole, you destroyed my spine, the fedora-wearing crow cried out as he writhed in pain. Now, care to tell me what this plan is before I put you out of your misery? The blonde said before he sensed everyone who was in the orc coming via magic circle. Makoto was once shocked when the four great ladies, Ms. Mitarashi, and a couple of people she didn't know appear from the glowing circle in the ground. What is going on here? And why is there a fallen on the ground? Rias asked sternly. Oh boy, Anko said as she circled the crow, immediately recognizing the spiral burn mark on his back. Did you have to Rasengan this guy's spine? I could have gone for his face and eliminated the chance to get information. He said with a shrug. As to answer your question, Rias, after I stormed out, this guy attacked me saying something about a plan and eliminating obstacles to their objective. This bastard is one of your peerage Grimoire. You should keep a tighter leash on him. The crippled crow growled. Well, since you seem to know who I am, why don't introduce yourself? The Grimoire heiress said simply. However, I do apologize for my pawn's use of excessive force. I am Danesik, the now named Danesik said as calmly as he could. As for our plans, I'm afraid I can't tell you that. My boss would give me a punishment far worse than death. Shall I put you out of your misery then? Naruto glared, summoning another Rasengan. Naruto, that's enough, his king said, causing him to turn his glare to her, but nodded nonetheless and dispelling his jutsu. Sona, can you take the fallen and have Anko do what she does best? Yes, I suppose I could do that, the petite young woman said with a sigh, just knowing her rook had a sadistic smile on her face even without looking back at her. So, with that request, Sona decided to get out of there, gathered her peerage and prisoner, and let Rias deal with her pawn. As they left, the blonde, still being upset, groaned. He did however know he was in the wrong in terms of storming off, but before dealing with that he knew it was best to get his stalker involved. You can come out now, Ms. Nijima, the blonde said, shocking her and everyone else there. She's been there since the start of me kicking that crow's ass. Can someone tell me what the hell is going on? Who or what are you guys? I'm no stranger to freaky and weird things, but I've never seen anything like what you guys have done tonight. Makoto asked hysterically. I suppose I could tell, but I would like to ask you a few questions, and I know Sona has the same questions, so, how about a compromise? Rias said with her usual smile, wrapping her arms under her ample bust, pushing them up more. You want to wait till I meet with you and President Shitori tomorrow, Makoto stated with a sigh, earning a nod from the crimson-haired girl. All right, it will help me gather my thoughts and questions for the meeting. Thank you for being understanding, the Grimoire heiress said politely. Naruto, can you escort the young lady home? We don't know if there or that other fallen is out and about. All right, the blonde said with a sigh. Before we go though, I'm sorry for storming out on you earlier, Rias. Our conversation diverted from your problem to one of my own derived from my own past. We can talk about that more tomorrow, but I accept your apology, Rias said with a relieved smile. We'll see you both tomorrow. Thanks.